Hey guys, Zen here, bringing you more warrior stuff. Just as a reminder, all the Smuggler stuff for this weekend is being moved next weekend, just because it's taking a break since we finished Chapter 1, and we'll continue next weekend with Chapter 2. Just wanted to make that clear, just so if anybody is coming in to watch the Smuggler stuff, that they know that it'll be back next weekend. So I'm going to bring you more warrior content. This time we're doing the Battle of Ilum flashpoint on hard mode. It's actually the first time any of us in the group have done it on hard mode, and as you see here, we have a full guild group. Even Holy is in here, he's tanking. We got to get him geared up for raiding and stuff, or operations, or whatever you want to call it. But in this entire video, there will be spoilers, because I'm going to be showing all the major story stuff, and I just wanted to let you know that, so that if you're not interested in seeing the spoilers for the Battle of Ilum, and there are some major ones, then I don't suggest watching the rest of this video, as much as I would hate to say don't watch it, but there are some major spoilers. And now that you've been warned, I'm going to give you a bit of a background before we go into the first story point. Okay, that should have been plenty of time for you to leave. Basically, what happens on Ilum throughout the story is that Darth Malgus kind of thinks that he's all awesome-like, and he, in layman's terms, he wants to break off from the Empire and become the new Emperor, because he doesn't feel like the Emperor is around, really, or is in charge anymore. So Darth Malgus feels like he can become the next Emperor. Now, obviously, there's problems with that, because the Emperor is still in charge, and he is still quite powerful. So this doesn't really work out for Darth Malgus. And you're sent into two flashpoints. This one, and then the next one is the False Emperor. This one is the Battle of Ilum. And you come in here and you try to stop Darth Malgus. In this one specifically, you're trying to get your hands on some stealth technology. That's basically the beginning plot. So before we check out this boss coming up, or this mini-boss, whatever you want to call it, we're going to check out the first plot point. So let's see that.
The Empire is a symbol of strength, respect, and purity. Darth Malgus mustn't corrupt that. Give the word, and we'll rain fire on the traitor's invading army.
There are only two ways back here. Stealth fighter or body bag.
A general of the Imperial Guard does not flinch from a challenge. Once we're over the battlefield, I'll drop you in the trenches. After that, I will provide air support. Now, to battle. Malgus the Betrayer will fear the Empire again.
So there you go, there's that. You fight your way through some trash. There's not a lot of it, and it's not very difficult, so we're just going to skip over all that boring stuff, and you end up coming up to this little mini-boss, and basically all he does is he summons these ads, and we destroy the ads, and then we go and kill him. He's not too difficult, because like I said, he is a mini-boss. All he drops is Taiwanese crystals, I'm pretty sure. The first boss isn't for a little while up here. And now you may be asking, like, Zen, what are you doing on your warrior? There's so many abilities at the bottom there. You're doing a lot of different stuff. You're jumping around. Basically, I'm playing the role of damaging support. I'm making sure that whatever this boss is casting, I'm interrupting. That is my job. It's so imperative, because I have a 6-second cooldown on my interrupt, and my charge, I can charge within melee range, and I can use that to interrupt as well. So I have two really reliable interrupts to use. So those are my two main things, and that's kind of my goal, is to just interrupt everything that I possibly can. As far as damaging goes, let me get a little bit more involved in that. So basically, there's a few different things with the warrior that you got to keep track of, and there's a lot of debate on which spec is the best. I'm in the Annihilation spec. I really like that one. It's just kind of my thing. You can't really tell which one's the best as of yet until the combat logs, there we go, nailed it, actually are available to us in 1.2. So this is what I'm doing. Basically, I've got, you can look at my bar as from 1 to 8 on the top bar and the bottom bar. Those are the main abilities I'm using, other than 9, which is my interrupt, and the 3 bottom and the right, which I'll get to in a minute. So, as a warrior, you have your rage bar, right? That's fairly obvious. This rage is generated through a few different abilities. My number 1 ability right there on the bar is just a basic attack that doesn't really do a lot of damage, but what it does do is it generates rage every time I use it. So that's one way. Another way is I can use my charge. That's a good way to use it. And then my number 3 ability is also another good way to generate rage. Number 3 gives me a lot of it, and it's on a fairly short cooldown. I think it's 12 seconds. Now, those are the ways that I can generate rage, right? And then all of the rest of the abilities are used to spend it. So that's my first resource, right? The second resource I have are these stacks. You can see them on my buff bar there. It's the little 30. Basically, I want these stacks of fury. The more stacks I get, the better. I get these stacks from using abilities that spend rage. I also get these stacks from getting attacked. And the 3 buttons at the bottom right on the bottom bar, those 3 are really powerful buffs that I can give myself. So the first one, which says it's bound to insert, which it isn't, it's bound to my Naga, that's just what it shows up as, is on a 30-second cooldown still. I mean, I think it's like an 8-minute total cooldown, so it's, I think I use it in the mini-boss or something, but it may be a quicker cooldown than that, now that I remember. Before I go any further, I must admit, I'm not a warrior expert. This is all just me learning from leveling and from doing some hard mode flashpoints. So that's a thing, right? So there's that one. That one gives me a damage buff, which is great. I love damage buffs. It gives my entire party a damage buff, which is also really great. The second one, to the right of that one, is just a speed boost. It gives my entire group a speed boost, and then the one to the right of that makes it so every time one of my dots tick, it has a guaranteed chance to restore a percentage of my HP, and that is also a really good thing. That's good for keeping myself alive through AoE abilities and stuff like that. You're going to see us fighting in the background here, and I'll explain more when I'm doing it as we wipe a couple times. And it's just going to happen. This, like I said, it's our first time in here on hard mode, and I think it's my only second time in here in general, so just deal with that. Okay, so back to the ability. So now that you guys know that I have kind of like 2 resources that I'm using it for those 3 buffs at the bottom, and I'm using it to spend my rage abilities. Those are the 2 main things, right? Now that you know that, I can better describe all the rest of my abilities. So my number 2 ability on the top bar is a vicious slash. It doesn't really, I mean, it does a lot of damage, don't get me wrong, but it's more of a filler, right? I use that as a filler when other things aren't on cooldown. And the Sith Warrior almost plays like an enhancement shaman from WoW, if that makes sense. If you know what I'm talking about, it'll make sense, but if you don't, then I'm not even going to get into that, because you'll understand as I explain this more. So, I've got that ability just to use in between while all of my other stuff is on cooldown. My number 4 ability is a dot, and my first ability on the bottom bar is a dot. But the first ability on my bottom bar, it buffs me, so my next 3 attacks dot the target, if that makes sense. A dot is a damage over time, if you don't know what that is. Those are really important. I'll get to that in a second. Now, my number 5 ability is Ravage. I gotta keep that on cooldown as much as I can. That's one of my best abilities. Does a lot of damage. It's good to match that up with my first ability on the bottom bar, the dot that I was talking about, because it hits 3 times, Ravage does, which means it'll stack up the dot on the target. 6 is Annihilate. That refreshes the cooldown of number 4, which is the other dot that I have, right? And then that also puts a buff on me that makes it so it comes up quicker. I know it's a lot of information, but you don't really need to know all of it. I'm just kind of going over it for those of you who want to know. Number 7 is Force Scream. I try to use that as much as I can. I know I should be using it a little bit more than I am. And right now I'm using that as a filler more than anything. Like I said, this isn't like a perfect build. Number 8 is Force Choke. I try to keep that on cooldown as much as possible. I typically will use it as a stun on lesser targets, so that's a thing. We're wiping here, don't worry about that. We wipe a few times on this boss because we don't know what we're doing, but we finally get it, and I'll show you the actual kill for that. Then I have a couple AoE abilities. The 4th button on the bottom bar, and the 2nd button on the bottom bar. The 2nd button is got a cooldown on it, but it stuns lesser targets, which is always really good, and it does a lot of AoE damage. The 4th button on the bottom bar is more of a cleave, and I can just spam the heck out of the thing because it only costs 1 rage, which is great. I go down. Now the 3rd button on the bottom bar, you don't really need to know about that. It's more of a tanky thing, but if I get hit, I have a chance of activating that ability, and it doesn't really cost a whole lot, and it allows me to attack without worrying about the global cooldown, if that makes sense. And that's really good later on when you're questing and stuff. So we're going to come back in. Obviously, I just skipped all that loading and running back because we really needed to. As far as the rest of my abilities go, I've got my charge. You don't really need to know about that all that much either. I know there's a lot here that's more than you really need to know, but the only other major thing is the 5th button on the bottom bar. That is like an execute. If they're below 20% health, I can use that ability, and I want to use that as much as possible. It's got like a 6-second cooldown, it's really quick, and it does so much damage. That's where the brunt of all my damage will come from 20% on. So it's really good for raid bosses and stuff who have a quicken rage and stuff. So that's just an overview of the abilities, and my basic rotation is I'm trying to get all of my dots on the target whenever I can, and just keeping the rest of everything on cooldown. So I open up with number 3 to get myself a ton of rage, and my charge obviously gets me a ton of rage. Then I'm using my number 4 ability on the 1st button at the bottom bar, which is my other dot. Then I'm trying to use Annihilate whenever possible to get my other dot back off cooldown. And then the 3 buffs on the bottom right, I'm using those when I need them. So like obviously the last one on the bottom right, like I just used now, I use when I know I'm kind of low on HP and stuff, or when I know I can potentially be hit sometime soon. That way I'm regenerating health. My damage buff one, the 3rd one on the bottom right, I use when we have to kind of burn a boss down before they enrage or before they do an ability that we need to avoid. So stuff like that. So that's kind of my basic rotation, and now that I've gone over that, like I said I would in the previous video, I'm just going to go full on pedal to the metal for the rest of the instance. We're going to show you the rest of the bosses and the rest of the story elements, but we're going to skip over all the trash and stuff that you guys don't need to see. So let's skip to the successful attempt on this boss, and I'll explain what's going on. Okay, so here we go with the pull. Let me explain what this boss actually does. So there's obviously 2 people here. They have this Jedi, which I'm going to try to keep interrupted the entire time. We're going to stack up because the Jedi likes to jump around, and it's really hard for a melee DPS to actually DPS like that. So it's better just to have him kind of close by if at all possible. The other boss wholly picked up aggro on and is tanking him, but we're not worrying about him at all at the moment. We're just focusing down this guy because this guy's gonna be our main threat right now, and he doesn't have a whole lot of life, so we can pretty much burn him down quite quickly. So that's what we're doing there. Once he's dead, we're all gonna switch to the boss, right? We're gonna get straight on him and try to burn right through him. As we're fighting him, once he gets to a certain percentage, I can't tell you what that is. I might be able to as I'm watching when we jump on him. Once he gets to a certain percentage, these turrets start popping up out of the ground. You see like the little pads there to the right, near the stairs. There's 4 of them total. There's a couple ways to deal with it. You could actually just have everybody switch to the turrets real quick and kill them. Each one gets on like a different turret. But the problem with that is typically they'll just target the healer and kill him. So what we did is we just ignored the turrets. As you see here, it looks like, what was that, like 40% that it did it? We're just going to ignore the turrets and just burn the boss. And then GG, we get free loots. That's basically all we do here. So you can see quite clearly, we're just going to finish him off. I think our healer ends up going down. No? Is he okay? He's okay. Yay! we kill the turrets then. And, oh, no, there he goes. I knew he died. He always dies. And we clean it up pretty easily, I would say. After a few wipes, I think we figured it out. We're doing this all without guides or anything. We're just kind of doing it on our own, figuring out what the heck we need to do. And we res him, because we're nice, I guess, I suppose. Should have made him run back. Loser, shouldn't have died. Hid behind the box over to my right there is what he should have done. I'm going to heal myself up, because I know after saying that he won't ever heal me again. And let's loot that cunning gear. Awesome, so you see one of the things he drops. So, let's move on to the next boss. Okay, now the clever ones among you would have noticed, hey, you skipped a mini boss there. Yeah, I wasn't going to show that one because it's basically a 2-droid tank and spank. Nothing big deal about that. There's really nothing special. So we're going to come in here and we're going to do this boss. This boss was a big pain in the butt. We wiped several times on him, and he does a lot of damage, and I think he's the hardest one in here. So this is one of the abilities he does. He brings in all these ats. Right before he does so, he stuns everybody, which makes it very hard to pick him up. Second thing he does, you can see a little shield in front of him there, like a kind of like a smuggler would put down. That shield that he does makes it so when you hit him, it'll explode and do a lot of damage. You saw Holy getting knocked back there. That can do a ton of damage to someone like me, who is a wet piece of paper when it comes to my armor. I can do a lot of damage, but I can't take it, right? So you gotta be careful and you gotta watch that. It's called like entrench or something like that. Just interrupt everything he does. Rule of thumb, just interrupt everything. So he's gonna draw in these ads again, right? Then he's doing the ability, I interrupt it. I'm able to jump in, and as you see there, I just kind of fall over dead. It's because he was able to do the shield, and when I hit my charge ability, it just killed me, right? But, because our healer is awesome, he battle reses me right now, once he's just healing the tank. I mean, you gotta keep the tank alive, right? And we're gonna run in, obviously, and kill him. So this is just gonna be our successful attempt here. I shouldn't have died there, I should have been paying attention, but this fight seems a little twitchy as far as that little buff goes. So I hit our damage, or my damage buff to give to the whole group. We get our shield down from our sniper, and we're able to pretty much clean it up with ease here at the end after wiping so many times. Now, the one thing to watch out for on this boss is obviously that shield, especially as a DPS. Make sure you're trying to interrupt anything you can. Help the tank out, because the tank's got a lot to worry about. But other than that, that's that boss. I'm super excited to have killed it. And we get bounty hunter gear. So lame. I was hoping for something that I could actually use. Now, this boss is another mini-boss, and it's literally just a few feet away from the one we just killed. I mean, it's like up a turn, and you know, you kill like 2 packs of trash and you're here. So this one's pretty easy. As you saw there, there was a medic and then there was that officer. What we did is we CC'd the officer on the right or to my left, and we CC'd the Marauder because we have 2 CDs, which is great. I love CCing things, especially when our tank is wearing mostly PvP gear. It's great to CC as many things as we can. So we CC'd those 2, we killed the medic, we killed the other officer, I jumped on him real quick, and now we're just burning down the boss. And this guy's pretty easy because you just burn him down. I'm interrupting all the snipes he's doing. That's what I'm, like I said earlier, this is what I'm assigning myself to do, is just interrupt as much things as possible and do as much damage as I can. Now we're going to quickly move on to the officer. The Marauder came out of the CC there, and that's fine. We're able to handle it, no big deal. And we cleaned this one up pretty easily. This is our first attempt on it. We had no idea what to expect. And we get the Tynese crystals, which is also really good. It's always good to get those things so you can get yourself some more of any gear, really. All 3 of the little tiers there are, you can pretty much spend Tynese crystals on. So we get that, and we move on to what is the next boss, finally, not some little mini boss.
I foresaw your arrival, my lord. Welcome.
Ilum is stained with Imperial blood. As we speak, your army falls to the superior strength of Malgus's force. I'm afraid I was forced to swat down your attack squadron. Troublesome brats had the gall to bomb my base. I hope they weren't friends of yours.
I never figured the Empire's top diplomat on Voss would join Darth Malgus.
I respond to logic, as do the Voss. Lord Malgus provided it in abundance.
They seek your stealth fighter.
Thank you, my dear. Tal Sako is a Voss mystic. Soon she will experience a vision of Voss prosperity under Emperor Malgus. Then all Voss will join us.
It's past time I ended you.
Come, Tal Sako. Let us destroy this Imperial filth.
I only observe and honor the victor.
In that case, I will fulfill your vision for the glory of the new Empire.
So there you go, that's the last bit of story information, I guess, in this place, except for the, obviously, when you kill this boss. So this boss is kind of easy, in my opinion. I don't know that our healer was telling us that he was really having to heal his butt off, and I can imagine. So what we do is we just focus down the Voss, the Quinnis Lee or whatever her name is. Who knows? We focus her down. She dies actually pretty quick. I was a little surprised by that. And then we just focus on the boss. And that's literally the entire fight. The boss, obviously, as you see there, then does this little disappearing act, and that's super annoying because he'll just stun somebody. The only other major, a couple other abilities he does, you can interrupt, right? So he's going to disappear there, and when he comes back, right there, he's going to stun me, and I can get out of that. And then he does this, like, explode thing. You can interrupt that, and then he does, like, force lightning. You can interrupt just about everything, like I said, off of this boss. And he's just going to continue to disappear and come back, and then disappear and come back. And then I bet you can guess what he's going to do. Yeah, you're right. He's just going to disappear and then come back again. It's a really repetitive boss. It took us a while. He may heal himself. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was interrupting. I was just interrupting as many things as I possibly could. But this boss, from my point of view as a DPS, it didn't seem that difficult. There wasn't really anything I needed to watch out for. I just needed to make sure that when he came back, I was attacking him. It's really what it boils down to. And I just wanted to point out that unlike a lot of unlike the Black Talon, I guess, there are some other few exceptions, but for the most part, Black Talon is the one flashpoint that has the most story, is what it seems like. And apart from that, most flashpoints from then on, especially the endgame ones, are like this, right? Where you kind of go through and there's a couple story elements, but for the most part, it's all flashpoint, which is good, which is really good, because then you don't have to like sit there and waste a lot of time skipping through cutscenes. There are some exceptions, like I said, like Boredom Party has a lot of story elements too. I haven't done many of the Republic flashpoints, but I do plan on doing those with my Consular that I'm leveling up, and with my Smuggler, obviously, when he's all the way leveled up. And I'll probably film a lot of that so you guys can see all of those flashpoints as well. So we're going to pretty much clean this boss up with ease. This is our first attempt on him. See an orbital strike coming down. It's not because he's bored, it's because he actually genuinely thinks that it has good DPS, which it does. So, you know, if you want to prove him otherwise, go ahead and try, but from what he's told me, it does sound like it does a lot of DPS. And I completely support the giant explosions, because they're amazing. But other than that, as you see here, we just clean it up. I get a really nice piece of loot. He drops 2 biometric alloys, which is awesome, because it allows me to make a lightsaber, which I am then able to sell later. We get some accommodations out of it. Go over to the chest, loot it, and I get a lightsaber, an offhand lightsaber, which is amazing. The thing is so good. You don't see the stats here because it's just a token for it, and I go and pick it up, and I'm using it now, and it was a huge upgrade, so I was really excited for that. Now we're going to finish off this video with the rest of the story elements here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to bring you some more warrior stuff over the next couple days, hopefully, and I hope you guys are enjoying the warrior stuff. I mean, are you? Let me know down in the comments below. Leave me any negative or positive feedback also in the comments below. And other than that, I think I'll just let the story tell itself out, and we'll be back more tomorrow with probably some more flashpoints. So we'll see you guys next time.
Darth Seravan was a false friend. Now he is gone. I wish it had been you.
This is Heska. Repeat, this is General Heska. Do you read me?
There was no way Seravan could destroy the Imperial Guard's best pilot.
I appreciate the vote of confidence.
Inform the Grand Moff that Darth Seravan is dead, and his stealth ship now belongs to the Empire.
Excellent. Imperial forces are busy securing the fort, and we found survivors. Shall I dispose of them?
Spare us and my people join the Empire.
Leave no survivors, Heska. Anyone who supports Malgus must die for their treason. I'm afraid that includes you.
No!
A just end for the traitors. Grand Moff Regus already plots our next assault. Secure the stealth fighter, and prepare to slay the false Emperor.